What better excuse to do a bit of mining in Star Citizen than to take out the latest newcomer, the Drake Golem? I'm Forrester, and this gameplay video showcases some mining around one of the refinery stations using the Golem, whilst chatting a little bit about some thoughts on the ship. There is a more detailed review on the channel if that's what you were looking for. This video is intended to be more gameplay focused. To keep the overall length of the video down, some of the footage has been sped up, and those parts are clearly marked as such, but otherwise this video is a full session, end to end, to incorporate the mining and added on the sale of the refined goods at the end. So, all of that out the way, let's get started. And starting of course by getting aboard the yellow ship that is the Golem, spawned into the hangar all ready to head out and get some mining done. In this case, as with most of my sessions, starting off in New Babbage, which is my home location. I often try to log out at New Babbage just because it's where all my stuff is, I suppose. A little bit easier. I appreciate that there is a tram ride to get here, but I don't know, it's home I suppose. And then request permission to leave the hangar and we'll go scouting for goodies. And this view is why New Babbage is my home location. The snow, the ice, the clouds, just love it, absolutely love it. There is a red marked player on leaving the hangar, so we'll just watch them a little bit carefully as we make our ascent, but otherwise we'll just get out of here and head to our mining location. In this case, because I'm on the sunny side of Microtech, gonna head to Mike L1, the Shallow Frontier station. The reason that I'm heading here is there are all of these little asteroids around the place, so plenty of mining to be found. Might not always be the best mining, but it means that there is zero, well not quite zero, but nearly zero travel time to get to the refinery deck, which is very, very handy. If you're looking to string together a few different pieces of mining and you're more interested in doing the actual mining than scouting for things, this can be a great way to actually spend more of your time actually mining and a little bit less time traveling. So that's why I've chosen Mike L1 for this one. And here we have our first asteroids of C-type. Scanning a lot, found a lot of salvage debris, which is always the way. You're not looking for salvage panels, you find loads of them, and when you are looking for them you can never find them. But here we have our first rock. Now this contains hephaestonite. It's not the most profitable. In fact, it's kind of on the lower mid-range. That said, this rock is 140 SCUs, and a big chunk of it is that hephaestonite, and it's pretty breakable with Golem. So I'm of the view that actually, if this is the first thing that I find, because I'm so close to the refinery deck, I could fill up on this stuff. With a couple of good breaks, I could have 32 SCUs of hephaestonite in the hold and send it off for refining. So that's what I've opted for. One of the downsides of the Golem is that you can't swap the mining head on it. You can have different mining modules, and I obviously have in this case, but unfortunately you can't swap the mining head, and that means that I'm in a situation where I've got a minimum laser power intensity of 20%, so I have to be firing at least 20% laser at this rock at all times, and with a little bit of instability that meant I did go a little bit into the overcharge, but through some careful modulation of things and backing off when needs be, that overcharge bar is now going down into the red, and then we'll get back into that green optimal space, so hopefully no explosions. We shall see. Just feathering this laser. And there it is, the first rock break. So next step is to have a look at some of these little rocks that are broken off and see if they've broken well. And this first one certainly has 100% hephaestonite. That is delicious. Of course, we're now into this sticky situation, which is where the Golem perhaps struggles a little bit more than some other mining ships owing to that minimum laser intensity at 20%. and that's the situation where you need to break up these smaller rocks, but any power is too much power, and on an unstable rock that can be a lot of work. Of course, some of that could be the mining modules that I've chosen to install. I've kind of gone for optimal charge window and laser power as my buffs, so I could have reduced instability. I've chosen not to. Whether or not that's a mistake, time will tell. But there's a 100% Hephaestonite rock, so that's a very good start. Even though it exploded a little bit, I have got just over 5 SCUs there of the pure goodies that I wanted. Now I'll scan the rest of these. There was one there that I could have extracted, which had some quartz in it, but at this point I just want to try and max out on the Hephaestonite if I can. That is a little bit more valuable. I say that cautiously because it's not particularly valuable, but it is more valuable. So I want to try and max out on that stuff if I can. It's not a high level or like, I don't know, gold or something of that ilk, but if I can max out on it with my first set of rocks, then could prove worthwhile. So that's the aim. Also trying not to overcharge, but failing miserably. And that one looks like it's going to go poof. This is the downside of that minimum 20% firing, is it's very easy to hop into that overcharge, and especially against these smaller ones. I mean, look at that, it was straight up before I could even cancel the thing. So at this point I'm just going to pop that and move on to the next one. A bit of a waste, but I guess a more skilled miner might have been able to do something with that. I don't pretend to be the most skilled miner, and as I say, the modules that I have equipped are perhaps not optimal for this particular configuration. I just want to break stuff, get it broken into, and then try and grab what I can. Besides, I think it's something that, I don't know, maybe feels quite Drake to maybe just like power, break the rocks power. Well, that has broken up, so hopefully I can get something off of this. I think we can. Another 6.87 SCUs there. Again, all of that Hephaestonite, so did a decent job of filling the cargo bay with the stuff that I wanted to fill it with. It's a shame I messed up that other rock, really. Got a little bit of quartz in this one. And then we'll try and break up this final one. This one's got potentially up to 19 SCUs if I can crack it. And that's proving the challenge here, I think, with this rock. See how quickly it shoots up there when the laser is firing. Need to keep it in that green window. But obviously the longer it's in the red, the worse things are. So it's a very fine balancing act. I really hope that you haven't tuned in to watch an expert miner at work, because I'm just exploding things right now. But we'll grab this Hephaestonite, get back into range, pick it up, throw it in the cargo hold, and then hopefully that might be nearly enough to go back and refine. I wasn't waiting for the scans on either of those rocks because I knew that the larger rock that I'd broken up was 100% Hephaestonite, so I knew that those smaller rocks would be good stuff anyway. So at this point I am 27 SCUs. I could have had slightly more if I'd done a better job of breaking things up, I think. I'll just do a double check of these and make sure that they are what they say they are. No, they're both marked as inert, but they're clearly not inert. with some Bexolite in there. Bexolite's quite a good one. What's in here? Bit more Hephaestonite. So, in the spirit of having a single thing, I'm actually just going to grab the Hephaestonite. The Bexolite is more profitable, but I'm then just refining and transporting one thing, and there's potentially advantage to that when I come to transport, because it will combine things into single larger boxes, whereas if I got, well, I don't know, one SCU of Bexolite, that's just an awkward crate hanging around. Even if it is more valuable, I guess there's a trade-off between convenience. So I've got mostly Hephaestonite here. I'm going to head back to the refinery deck. And that was pretty quick. So found those rocks, broke them up. Yes, it's not the most profitable type of ore, but it's a full load. And we can be in, refining, and back out again in no time. Do a little bit of repair work, as I did explode a couple of those rocks. And then head in and start refining. I think the top tip at the moment seems to be to store the ship when you're doing this, just so that there's no issues as you leave afterwards. Sometimes, I guess, with some of the slight bugs and challenges that plague us in Star Citizen. And here we are, refinery deck. I have got a completed order here from a previous run. Don't need to be using that. I'm not even going to bother with the quartz here. I'm figuring I can just do the Hephaestonite. That's probably worth it. And I'm deciding, do I want a quicker run, or am I happy to wait for half the price? And in this case, I think because I'm doing lower value ore, I'm actually going to run the slower method that is cheaper, and that will give me a better cost to income ratio, I suppose, for running the Hephaestonite instead of something more valuable. Plus, at the time of recording, I'm not expecting anything to disrupt the refinery job, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get back and collect these no problem. 26 hours, I can manage that. Respawn the golem, and we'll head back out. Do some scanning, see what we can find. I did see an interesting image about what the most appropriate pronunciation for this ship is. Is it the Golem or the Golem? I think I'm inclined to agree with, I think it was Mr. Kraken who said Golem is appropriate. That feels for me more realistic for my accent. So I guess if you say it another way, hey, fine. I think I'll stick with Golem. Here we have another asteroid. Have a look and see what this one is. Always says 100% inert when you get too close. You have to scan it again, which is frustrating. We've actually got a little bit more Hephaestonite there, so that's, for the sake of 5 SCUs, that's tempting just to grab that. There'll be a couple of SCUs of Hephaestonite, 3 SCUs there into the cargo hold, just because it will go well with that Hephaestonite we've just mined. Again, it'll all stack when it's refined, so it just makes it simpler if there's fewer types of ore rather than having lots and lots of small crates for transport. I'm hoping that makes sense. And then we've got another set here. These are M-type asteroids. Let's see what's contained within. We've got the Grecium in there, which is of a similar sort of value to the Hephaestonite. A bit more Grecium in there. And some gold in there. I suspect this gold one is too big to break, but 67 SCUs, of which a third of it is gold, I think it's worth a try and see what happens. So I'm just going to whack the laser on, get to a decent range, and just see if it does charge. I'm not expecting it to. It does say impossible. There's a lot of resistance on this rock, so I'm not expecting to break it. But it was worth a try, because sometimes the advisory notes about how easy or impossible something is are just that, advisory notes. And so for the prospect of filling up with gold, I'm happy to risk it for a biscuit. There's a nice little external view of the golem doing its thing. Right, we'll whack a little bit of laser power on here. This is a fairly unstable rock, so I'm being a little bit cautious. As cautious as I can be, anyway. But Agricium is 50 SCUs, just under a third of that is Agricium. And that's of a similar value, slightly better than the Fastenite I've got. So if I can grab that, that'll be a good one. And it seems to be staying in the green zone, so fingers crossed. Now this is the challenging bit when we've got these smaller rocks. If they're not instantly extractable, they're going to need breaking again. And this is where, certainly my experience with the Golem is it's a bit tougher than with some other ships. Did I just say Golem? I probably did. Tricked myself into saying things after talking about how I don't say them. That sounds about right. Whoops. Just rocked into a rock. I don't think any of those small rocks have broken particularly well. I'd be forced to take some quartz with it. And actually, I'm not really that interested in doing that. I've got a mostly empty cargo hold here, so if I can get a good break on the Agricium, I'll take it. But I'm not going to go half-see with some quartz, I don't think. And this is what I like to be doing, is just feathering that mining laser. A little bit on, a little bit off, keep it moving. It also helps to warn me just if there's any kind of lag spikes or anything like that. And then I can instantly back off the power. This seems like a pretty stable session. It's broken into a few different chunks here, so let's see if any of them have got a good break of that Agricium. Mostly quartz in that one. It's not what I want. Mostly quartz in that one. Not what I want. But half-seas. Don't really want that. Mostly inert. I'm sure somebody could probably be calculating this mostly quartz about the proportions in each, and that's about half and half. So I'm actually just going to leave it. I did the break. I didn't get a lucky break that I wanted, so I'm just going to move on to the next set. I've still got most of my cargo storage available for this, so I'd rather fill up with stuff that's going to be useful rather than fill up with quartz, which as of right now I'm not a big fan of. That might all change when we get more meaningful crafting. Everybody might want quartz for, I don't know, decorating stuff, crafting stuff, I don't know. But as of right now, I'm not that bothered by quartz. Once again, it says 100% inert. I know that's probably not true, so I'll rescan it. Oh, we've got more Hephaestonite in here. So let's have a look at this. 136 SUs, of which half is Hephaestonite. So even with some bad breaks, I can probably get a decent fill of Hephaestonite from this one. And actually very easy to break this rock. It says medium, but it's cracking very easily. It's just a little bit unstable, that's all. Right, I think I'll back away from that as it goes pop. I didn't quite get there. I'll put a bit more power on, that'll do it. That'll soon do it, bit more power on there. So as well as the hephaestonite, this one has corundum in it, which is, again, at the moment, less valuable than the hephaestonite. If you're wondering how you kind of keep track of what's valuable and what's not, well, you do a little bit of mining, you kind of get a feel for it. So for me, hephaestonite is about as low as I would go, and only in situations like this where I'm right by the refinery deck, so I'm not wasting a lot of travel time to get the hephaestonite. The corundum I probably wouldn't bother with at all at the moment, save for if there is some event going on in Stanton. They pay you millions of credits for it, but that is over as far as I'm aware. So the hephaestonite is what I go for. You do build up an experience of stuff that you think is worth getting, but failing that, if you haven't got that experience yet, some of the resource websites like regolith.rocks are great for knowing kind of market prices that these things sell for, and that can help you decide, is it worth me grabbing hephaestonite, corundum, etc. And some of that will be a personal choice as well. You know, I'm probably much more easygoing about grabbing materials because I'm more into enjoying the mining gameplay rather than making loads and loads of alpha UEC doing this. But if you are looking to maximize your profits, you might be looking for only the most profitable materials, etc. So there's probably a bit of individual choice in there too. Breaking up some of these rocks. And we've got 6 SCUs there for hephaestonite. That's probably worth grabbing. Put that into the cargo hold. So this feels like it's been a hephaestonite mining session. Don't think that's as exciting as it could have been if I'd been hunting something like gold, but I guess it's realistic for how I tend to do these kind of mining hops, where I will base a decision on what I'm grabbing off of how far away I am from a refinery, and in this case being right by the refinery, I feel like I'm here to do mining, so I'll do some mining. I know that was a 100% hephaestonite rock, so even before I've scanned these ones, I'm just getting into extraction mode and grabbing that because I know there must be 100% hephaestonite, because it was 100% hephaestonite rock. And that's gonna mostly fill up my cargo, if not completely fill it. 30.8 out of 32, of which the vast majority is that hephaestonite, that good stuff. So I don't need much to fill up at this point. Just see if there's anything that's easy enough to break into and top up that last 1 SCU. Well, that's 100%. That's kind of what I'm looking for. You see here, as I switch the laser on and off, the buffs that I'm applying to the rock disappear as the laser goes off, so that's why you see the optimal charge window shrinking after I switch the laser off. But it's a fine line because I don't want this rock to go boom. It's a very unstable one, so I'm just trying to keep it somewhere near the green as much as possible without over-egging it. So just in case you're wondering why you're seeing on that right hand side of the heads-up display that optimal window keeps changing size, it's just because the buffs only apply to the rock as you're firing the laser at it. Once again, because I know this is 100% hephaestonite, I don't need to scan it. And there we are, cargo full, just over 30 SCUs of that hephaestonite. So for me, that's been a pretty decent session. It's not the most profitable ores, but it's all the same stuff, which is going to make it much easier to transport. I've got 2 full golems worth of it, so it'll be near to 64 SCU when unrefined. Be a little bit less due to refinery losses after that, but it'll be a decent amount. And it's been a quick session, so all told at this point we've been probably about half an hour, maybe slightly over half an hour to do some mining. And then there'll be a little bit of transport time on top of that, but for For me, 2 hops there, quick, found things fairly quickly, got back to the refinery deck. I'm pretty happy with that. Once again, going to store the golem, keep it safe. And then head back to the refinery deck to process that into refined goods. And then once again, I'll use that, if I can find the right one, I'll use that Dinnick solvenation. It's the longer method, but that's fine. And that 30 SCUs turns into just over 25 SCUs when it's done. So I think if I've got something that can store 64, like a Hull A or a C1, that will work fine. Through the magic of time, we've now time walked forward. Those work orders are complete, and I've got my C1 spirit here to pick them up. And I'm just going to collect those 2 Hephaestonite ones. If I'd brought something larger, I could have got that other one with the Taronite and the Bexelite, but not to be. I've got my Hephaestonite here instead, and at least that gives you a more realistic view of what that short session is actually going to sell for. So in this case, that C1 is loaded up. That must have been about 50 SCUs, I guess, of Hephaestonite. And of course I've gone to the wrong hangar. I've gone to my small hangar and I should have gone to the medium hangar. Never mind. Let's have a look in here. And there it all is. Delicious cargo. Ready for transport. And I encountered a slight issue here. I thought rather than gloss over this, I'd include this. This happens to me sometimes. I've got multiple different input controllers, and every now and then Star Citizen decides that input 2 is no longer input 2, it's now input 4 or whatever. So I have to go through and rebind everything to the new input. Even though the buttons and the axes are the same, the input number has changed. It's a little bit frustrating. I did think it was worth including that just for realism of some of the challenges that I go through, that we all probably go through when playing the game. It's not the most gripping gameplay, but it happens to me sometimes. Usually happens if I've been unplugging or plugging something else new, so it's quite rare for me. It happens maybe once a month or something like that, but it is frustrating to have to go through everything and rebind all the buttons again, isn't it? Never mind. Interestingly, if you are looking for a guide as to the bindings that I've set for my own controls, I have got a separate video on the channel for that. So I am a throttle and stick user, so if you are interested in that, I'll try and include a link, I guess, above. It lets me link it above. But it's on the channel, all about the keybinds that I use, how I've set it up. There we go. Right, into quantum travel, on the way into Microtech, with a C1 spirit full of Hephaestonite, and we'll go sell up. So even with all of that, and the kind of travel time to Microtech, C1's a fast ship anyway, and the unloading time, this entire session from starting at New Babbage to doing the mining to bringing the C1 up to selling the stuff, this whole thing is probably about an hour. So whatever value this sells for is about an hour's worth of work. As I say, my goal hasn't been to make the highest number of credits per hour. I would probably be doing something very different to this, or even if I was mining, I'd be mining very differently. My aim was just to take the golem out and have a bit of fun doing some mining, but whatever alpha UEC figure I land upon, that's kind of close to an hourly rate for this type of activity anyway. We've got to open the doors there. The advantage of the C1, I like my C1, is that it's got a tractor beam on the back, so you can kind of use that to unload things yourself, which is pretty handy. In this case, got these great big crates of Hephaestonite, which are a little bit awkward. But that's pretty much 32 SCUs there. Plus that one, that's what, a 2? Is that maybe 34 SCUs? That doesn't seem like very much. Kind of felt that after all of my mining it would be more than that, but I guess we'll see when we get there. Once again, I am going to just store the ship. Maybe there's some invisible crates on there which we'll find when we get to the sail console. We shall see. Once again, speeding up this travel time. I feel like if you play Star Citizen, you've seen plenty of tram trips. In fact, if you watch other gameplay videos on this channel, you've probably seen plenty of tram trips. So I think ×4 speed feels about right. Speed things up a little bit as we commute our way over to the Commons to sell all of this Hephaestonite. Really not a fan at the moment of how everybody seems to like take cover as you walk past. It's a little disconcerting. And here we are, ready to sell up. So have a quick check through and see if there's any left on the Spirit. I've selected the Spirit, but that looks like a Vulture. What happens if I select the Vulture? That looks like a Prospector. What happens if I select something else? That looks like a Polaris. Oh, just go on, you Babbage. So I've got 49 SCUs, which is 150 SCUs, which is 123k. So about 123k for an hour's worth of work. For me, for enjoying it, I'm happy with that. If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to let me know I should make more similar videos. And if you're not yet subscribed, given that you've got this far, you might like to do that too, so that YouTube will know to show you more videos like this in future. But otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.